Welcome to the State of the Nation weekly update, brought to you by our friends at Pace Car Rental, where you can rent a car or a bakkie, and you can get a discount if you go and book your vehicle and you use the code SONA, S-O-N-A. You'll get a discount on your next hire. I believe they've got a special on bakkies. Go and get a bakkie. You need one to navigate the potholes in a city near you. Right, the topic we're tackling today is an update on the Madlanga Commission, the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee. Right, we've heard, it's been in the news, every now and again it flares up with some new information. What has happened and why have we chosen this moment to speak about it? Well, what has happened is in the past week, the hearings at the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee came to an end. So this gives us a good opportunity to pause, see where we are, and perhaps try and predict what's going to happen as a result of all of these commissions that we've heard so much about. Now, we all remember that fateful day in July of last year when Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, head of the police in KwaZulu-Natal, addressed a press conference dressed to kill. He looked like he was about to execute a coup. The guy was in military-style fatigues, telling everybody that he knows about collusion between politicians, senior policemen, as well as organized crime. And it's hard to sort of put your mind back to the point before we knew this all to be true, because what General Mkhwanazi unearthed has been proven to be true. There has been a terrible collusion between these three very important issues. Now, President Cyril Ramaphosa was shocked to find out that South Africa is in the grips of a crime epidemic, despite the fact that he's probably the most briefed man in the country. And when he was as shocked as he was when he found out about state capture at the Zondo Commission, despite the fact that he'd been deputy president while all of this was happening. He was shocked. And he wasn't a man to be swayed by the piles of books that were written on these topics, or the thousands of newspaper articles that spoke about any of these things, or the hours of reports on television and podcasts and radio, etc. He wasn't even persuaded by the growing pile of dead DJs' bodies that seemed to litter the country. The president made as if he had never heard of crime before, and he immediately sprung into action and announced the establishment of the Madlanga Commission, and suspended his big mate, the police minister, Senzo Mchunu, who'd been named in that press conference by Mkhwanazi. And he had said that the police minister had done the bidding of these criminals by disbanding the Political Killings Task Team, a special task team that so beloved by the president. Now, let's remember that the president loves nothing more than a good task team, especially one that doesn't achieve anything. And now he had disbanded a task team. It's a miracle that the president didn't fire him on the spot, because the president loves task teams, but the police minister, not so much. And what made his move more suspicious was the fact that he shut down this PKTT, as this task team has grown to be called, on the 31st of December 2024 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Nothing suspicious about that at all. And then we remember that in an effort to remain relevant and under enormous public pressure, because we didn't want to see another commission that just kicks the can down the road and nobody pays the price, Parliament announced that they were going to have a parallel ad hoc committee. And we were very hopeful. And now it's come to close. And was our hopefulness about the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, was it justified? Absolutely not. Because Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, the belief was, and I would put myself into the category, we thought at least they will do something, whereas the Commission will just produce a report that the president will then just say, I'm going to apply my mind for the next 16 years. But at least Parliament would be forced to act. Well, it started out looking that way, but it's ended in something completely different. And I must say, I'm not sorry to see the end of the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee. Why? The Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, those members of Parliament could not resist the temptation to go down to the depths of grubby political party politics. And they stopped being professionals. They stopped trying to seek answers. And they started more to sort of try and treat this almost as a public forum to, I don't know, to electioneer for their party. It became racked with race. It became racked with factions. If the other guy was from the other side of the aisle, you're horrible to him. If he was from your side of the aisle, you defended him. And it was a real failure. Whereas the Madlanga Commission grew in its effectiveness. And this was largely because of the great leadership of Justice Madlanga himself. And we'll get back to that in a minute. But now, the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, and it's been a real disappointment and a real waste of taxpayer money, I've got to say. It was best displayed if one compares the treatment of Paul O'Sullivan and Kat Matlala. Both of them appeared before the Parliamentary Committee. What were they there to do? Well, on the one hand, Paul O'Sullivan is a private citizen who ran his own business. Where you call yourself a detective, it doesn't make you a policeman. But he was kind of running this parallel crime-fighting little business. And there is no doubt that he's not helped by his own personal demeanor, a mixture of arrogance, disrespect to anybody that holds political office, as well as his bombastic nature. And this was too much for these parliamentarians to handle, and they lost their collective minds in their treatment of Paul O'Sullivan, who had put people behind bars who had committed crimes, and he wasn't even a policeman. And then, on the other hand, you had the treatment of Kat Matlala. Kat Matlala is a guy who has had people killed. He was part of a whole syndicate that stole 2 billion rand at least from one public hospital that we know of in Tembisa Hospital. Right? He's a criminal. He's a bad guy. Instead, in front of the Parliamentary Committee, you would have sworn that he was the Redeemer returned to this earth. We even had the terrible spectacle of Mkhonto weSizwe MP Vusi Shongwe telling Matlala that he is a role model, calling him Grootman, saying all black people should love to become as successful as you are. The guy killed Babita Deokaran, or had her killed. These are bad people, but because it suited the narrative of Mkhonto weSizwe, because he was well dressed, as MP Shongwe told us, then we must treat him differently. And, so immediately the Parliamentary Committee lost credibility because it wasn't about getting to the bottom of the criminal activity. It was about supporting your own personal narrative. On the one hand, you can't have an immigrant white guy fighting crime, and you can't have a black guy being guilty of crime. And it didn't help. The Madlanga Commission, on the other hand, has been brilliant. And it shows that lessons have been learned from the outcome of the Zondo Commission. What was different? For starters, the Zondo Commission had poor old Raymond Zondo as the one commissioner. And he sat there on his throne, and he was the only person who had to hear evidence, and in most cases lead evidence. This Madlanga Commission had Justice Madlanga himself, who's a national treasure, and he was ably supported by his fellow commissioners, Sesi Baloyi and Sandile Khumalo. And these two have been a great addition to the work done by Madlanga. They kept that thing going. They kept people answering. And they had great evidence leaders. Matthew Chaskelson deserves a special mention. The guy just got a way of getting the truth out of people. And some credit must go to whoever gathers their evidence behind them, because they had a never-ending stream of WhatsApp evidence, email evidence, bank accounts, etc. And every bit of evidence was supported. And it was great to see. And boy, did they hold people to account. So I think they were assisted largely by the fact that the criminals in the story, which include some of the people that are paid by you and I, never saw this coming. For years and years and years, for 20 years, you could just act with impunity in South Africa. After a while, you just stop hiding your crimes because it didn't look like the day of reckoning was coming. Well, it came along quite abruptly and quite seriously. So what does a scoreboard look like? Now, as we are at a crucial stage, we saw an interim report, which the president doesn't believe that you and I are adult enough to see. No, we are little children. Only the president can see this report. But they did say that 14 people who had been referred by the Madlanga Commission for further charges have been referred for those charges. We don't know what was in the report. What have we heard from the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee? Nothing. What is their report even going to look like? I presume it would depend on who writes the report. And in this case, it's going to be, the ANC MP Soviet Lekhenyane, who tried his best, but he seemed more like a man of the cloth rather than a hard-nosed commissioner, as he tried to keep that committee from unraveling. So, some very serious charges were faced, and people died. Let's remember, people were died and billions of rand were stolen. People were distributing drugs. People that are employed to fight on the side of the law were assisting in support in distributing drugs. Now, let's look at some of the allegations and what's happened. So we're going to start off with the politicians. And we'll start with the big name in the whole thing, which was the Minister Senzo Mchunu. Now, I think it's fair to say that his political career is well and truly over. He'll probably get a job inside the ANC like the rest of their criminals, but he won't face any criminal charge. And it's hard to see that he did anything that is overtly criminal. It just seems like, let's be kind and say that he was ignorant of the situation and he was misled by a whole lot of people who got him to do something that made no sense whatsoever. That's the way it's going to go down. He disbanded the one entity that was fighting crime. No good reason other than from the outside it looks like it assisted all the dodgy policemen and all the criminals. And nothing more is going to happen, but Senzo Mchunu will probably resign with his pension and go off to pasture and pretty soon become, some guy who works for the ANC in their head office. And then that will be the last we hear of him. He's not alone. They've got Gigaba, they've got all of these people that have been found guilty in other places. They never really face a judge, but they end up working for Luthuli House. And this is what's going to happen to Senzo Mchunu. In Nhlanhla Mkhonazi's press conference, he mentioned two people that in Parliament that had given out confidential information. One was Fadil Adams, and the other one was Fadil Adams from the National Coloured Congress, and the other is Diane Kohler-Barnard from the DA. And he viewed this as a very serious breach of classified information. Well, it seems on the face of it that let's deal with Diane Kohler-Barnard first. It's going to be hard to see much more happening to her other than a very mild tap on the wrist. What was her crime? She retweeted a newspaper article that had divulged classified information. It wasn't like she took a classified document and went to a newspaper or anything like that. She retweeted what was out in the public domain. She wasn't the source of this. So what's the crime? This thing was already in the public domain and she was retweeting it, not even an original tweet. So it's hard to see a crime there. Fadil Adams, on the other hand, and he testified, rubbing his shoulder the whole time. It was quite off-putting. But in any case, he seems to have taken the role of like a Batman. We keep on mentioning this because there's a few kind of people out there who like the idea of being the ultimate crime fighter. And Fadil Adams comes from a bit of a rough background, and he has a personal issue with crime, and so he should. It's his job. But he perhaps took it too far, and sometimes he would misuse his parliamentary privileges to do his own investigations. And he clearly drew the conclusion that the problem isn't the people who we know to be criminals, but the guys who were fighting the criminals. And he took aim quite fairly, squarely at Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, and I think he's come up short. So for Neil Adams, I don't think bad judgment is a crime is a crime. Bad judgment is what we deal in Parliament. But, what crimes did he commit? A mild misuse of public resources. He once used public cars to go on an investigation. Did he divulge any classified information? It doesn't look like there was anything serious. And so it doesn't look like much is going to happen with Fadil Adams. In fact, his stocks may rise because he is seen as this crime fighter. And then what else are we going to hear from the political front? Well, in the last couple of weeks, we've heard some allegations coming out. Now, obviously, the crime has got, as the president said at the Zondo Commission, the ANC is always accused number one. Well, in this stage, they are accused number one because this all has to do with cadre deployment and the usual ANC networks. But there have been quite a few allegations about the EFF's involvement. And I think this is going to go deeper, especially as most of the money stolen seems to be at local government level, and mainly in places like Ekurhuleni, where the ANC governs together with the EFF. And it will surprise absolutely nobody when the EFF is uncovered as being deeper and deeper involved. In fact, just in the last week, we heard the name of Julius Malema mentioned, and once again, it shocked nobody. Not even the president, who gets shocked by everything, will be shocked to hear that. So I think the EFF are in for a bit of a rough time. It's going to hurt those parties politically. There is no doubt about it. ANC are going to suffer because of this. So will the EFF. Right, so we spoke about local government, and the blood is going to flow in the Ekurhuleni Metro, which was unearthed as this hotbed of crime. Their city manager, Imogen Mashazi, and their former head of legal services, Kemi Buhari, are going to face judges, and I don't see how they win. And as I've mentioned many times, they're too low on the totem pole to be protected by the government. So that's really what's going to happen politically. There's going to be a price in the local government elections. The other parties are going to make capital of this, of Madlanga Commission. Let's talk about the criminals. We know about poor old Kat Maklala. He's currently in custody, and for some reason, Katiso Molefe, who used to be in custody, got bail. They will both face a judge. There's a pile of evidence against both of them. And probably you can add Suleiman Karim into the mix. There's a lot of evidence that he was involved in a sort of a three-way syndicate with those other two gentlemen. And there was a fourth wheel, and that is Hangwani Morgan Maumela, who seems to carry enormous protection. We know that he was at one point Cyril Ramaphosa's nephew, but it seems like the guy is absolutely beyond reproach, right? Not even the Madlanga Commission that I've spoken about glowingly seem to be empowered enough to get Maumela to come and testify. If that has to happen, I'll give him a standing ovation. But it seems like Maumela cannot be mentioned. Even the Special Investigative Unit, the SIU, gave Maumela his 5 luxury cars back in the same color blue after they had confiscated it, right? This guy is not going anywhere. So, temper your expectation. Maumela can do whatever he likes. He's not going to be arrested. He seems to have protection that goes all the way up to the top. It would take a change of government to have this guy face a judge. But it's going to be the police where most of the blood is going to flow. And I think as we speak, Minister of Correctional Services, Peter Groenewald, should start preparing a section in the hospital, because these guys always go to hospital, where a whole lot of generals are going to be spending a solid 6 months each, because we know that we don't go down too hard on people guilty of corruption. Who's in the naughty corner? Who's going to face the high jump? Well, the name that keeps on coming up. So Deputy National Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya. This guy has got fingerprints all over every crime, and he's been there forever. This guy is going down. Major General Lesetja Sonona, he basically implicated himself. He was head of the Hawks in KZN, and he seems like just a thug in a uniform. Then we have the two women that are definitely going to be in trouble here. Brigadier Rachel Macheng, head of forensics. What was her excuse for aiding and abetting the criminals? She was having an affair with Kat Matlala, and she was doing nothing. She wasn't getting a bribe. She was getting girlfriend fees. But it wasn't as bad as her partner, who she said got a Brazilian butt lift, and that was General Hilda Sentamula, who seemed to also be there doing some dodgy stuff. So I got a feeling all of those generals are in trouble. There's a sergeant who's going to be doing the running around, and that's Sergeant Fani Nkosi, who ended up being a wonderful source of information because he was so unbelievably careless. He seemed to be the go-between the generals and the criminals. Whenever they wanted something done, they worked through the sergeant. When they needed money collected, they had sent him. When they needed impalas delivered to the policeman, the criminals sent him. And this guy ran all day. I don't think he did any policing work. He was just the go-between. And of course, then we've got the ultimate, low-end criminal, and that's the Ekurhuleni Metro Police head, Julius Mkhwanazi. Unfortunate first name and an unfortunate second name, who seems to be guilty of everything, from murdering people to peddling drugs to putting blue lights on Kat Matlala's cars. What has been unearthed? 275 Metro policemen in Ekurhuleni have got a criminal record. It's going to be shocking. What is going to happen as we've go to the end of this particular saga? There's going to be a massive change to the police. I would be surprised, even in South Africa, if there aren't serious repercussions for the police service. And it's going to be a serious restructure. We'll get a new police minister, heaven knows who, and there will be so much public pressure that you will probably see Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi replacing the hapless Fani Masemola as police commissioner within the next 2 years. And there's going to be a serious look at policemen, and I've got a feeling we're going to see many, many policemen fired. Will we see an improvement in policing? Anyone's guess. But the can of worms has well and truly been opened. Lastly, let's have a very quick look at the winners and losers out of Parliament who spoke at these ad hoc committee. It's quite clear that there's a couple of things at play. Number one, the DA were absolutely nowhere. They refused to hold anybody to account. Glynis Breitenbach looked like she was being held prisoner. Ian Cameron looked like he didn't understand what was going on. They did very little. They contributed very little to the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee. MK cannot finish a sentence without sort of bringing their ideology to front and center. They probably did themselves some good because they had some energy. The ANC were actually a little bit better prepared than what people would think. And they were probably the best of the parliamentarians in that place, together with the parliamentarians from the other small parties. Ashley Sauls showed his religious bent. Everything was religion. And Geraldine James from Action SA was the bulldog. She has a problem with drugs. She's always been an activist against drug use. And she was a bulldog whose stocks definitely rose. There is no doubt that everybody is dead scared of Julius Malema. His contributions were minor, but when he did open his mouth, everybody seemed to be dead scared to even question what he had to say. So he retains that aura around him. All in all, I think Parliament was at least put on show. We all understand Parliament a little bit better. And it's going to be fascinating to see where we go to from here. But I think it's been a very, very good process for South Africa, a bit of a cleansing process. And now people like, and platforms like this will not shut up until people go to jail. And neither should you. So I hope that puts you up to date as what we've got to learn out of the Madlanga Commission and the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee. You get to know who the bad guys are, not too many good guys in this. But thank you for joining me. Remember, support Pace Car Rental, subscribe to our channel. We'll see you again on the weekly update.